The ultimate guide to building a healthy relationship with food in 2025. Building a healthy relationship with food is about finding balance between enjoying foods you love and that make you feel good without feeling any type of guilt or negative feelings, and also properly nourishing your body with foods that are going to give you the nutrients you need to thrive. So in this video, I'm going to take you step by step into this journey of reframing your relationship with food so that it becomes healthier. And I have made videos on a lot of the topics that I'm going to be talking about, so I will give you a general overview and then I will link you back to the video so that you can go more in detail. And by the end of this video, you'll have all the tools in a way that is going to progress naturally to help you build the healthiest relationship with food. So let's start off with number one, which is reframe your relationship with food. So in order to actually have a healthy relationship with food, let's look at what this means. It means viewing food as nourishment, but also pleasure and social connection, and not as something that you need to feel guilty about. It also means allowing yourself to enjoy all the foods without judgment, without obsession, without telling yourself that some are good or some are bad. And it means trusting your body's cues for hunger, for fullness, satisfying cravings, satisfaction in general. Having a healthy relationship with food isn't about eating perfectly, but it's about making peace with food and being able to have this flexible approach to eating where you're both eating foods that are giving nutrients to your body and giving you all the energy that you need, and also satisfying your cravings and making sure that you're fulfilled with everything that you're eating without feeling any type of guilt or any type of negative feelings around food. So another thing you should be working on to reframe your relationship with food is to let go of diet culture. Diet culture thrives on fear and restriction and perfectionism, and it will drive you to think that foods are good or bad, and that if you eat good foods, you're good, and if you eat bad foods, you're bad. In order to break free from diet culture, try to identify diet culture rules that you have. For example, I can't eat carbs because they're bad for me, they're gonna make me gain weight, or I can't eat dinner past a certain time because that's gonna make me gain weight. And try to challenge them, try to really understand the logic and the scientific facts behind these and understand that they're not rooted in science. Also can start replacing the food labels that you have, things that you see as bad, and just make them neutral. So for instance, carbs are just a macronutrient that's gonna bring your body energy. Diet soda is just a drink that you can enjoy sometimes. And you may also want to unfollow any type of accounts that promote diet culture or that promote anything that is uncomfortable to you and maintains you in this unhealthy mindset. And I have a video in order to help you let go of diet culture that you can check out here or in the description with all the videos that I'm going to be referencing in this video. Another aspect to work on to reframe your mindset is the all or nothing mentality. This mentality is one that will tell you that if you've eaten one cookie, then you've ruined your diet, so you might as well finish the entire box and then go on a cheat meal for the entire day, even the entire weekend, and then you can just start over fresh on Monday. This will keep you stuck in a cycle of restricting and binging. So here's how you can start to get out of it. You really need to start practicing flexibility. You can eat the cookie. It's totally fine. It's not going to ruin your entire day. What will ruin your entire day is if you actually eat the whole box because of that one initial cookie. To help you do that, you need to view your actions as something that is going to have a long-term impact. If you have one cookie, it's not going to ruin your entire way of eating. One action will not do that, but repetition will. And if every time you have the cookie, you end up having the box, that will have an impact. If you just have a cookie once in a while, that won't. You also need to make sure that you're allowing yourself to make mistakes without judgment. And again, I have a full video on getting rid of the all or nothing mentality in the description. So now that you have reframed your relationship with food, it's time to start building awareness, trust, and balance. You absolutely need to learn to listen to your body. Your body will give you cues for everything it needs. For hunger, fullness, craving, satisfaction, the time to eat, the time to stop, all of that. Your body knows. It's just that years and years of diet culture may have prevented it from giving you those signals, and now it's time to relearn them. So to reconnect, learn to check in with your hunger. You can use the intuitive eating hunger scale. I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna link the entire video to it in the description. But basically it's about rating yourself on a scale from 1 to 10 before each meal to make sure that you eat when you are moderately hungry and not completely ravenous. It's also a good idea to pause about halfway or 3/4 of the way through your meal so you can ask yourself if you are full already. Rate yourself on the scale and go on if you want to, stop if you need to. And you also need to understand that you can only really start listening to your fullness and having correct fullness signals if you also listen to your hunger. If you're hungry and don't listen to that, then your body is not gonna give you the fullness signals either. You also really need to learn to trust your cravings. So if you are wanting something specific, your body is giving you this signal, and it's really good to listen to it and to have that. You don't have to have a ton of it, but having at least a little bit of it, telling your body that you're listening to it and you trust it. And I have a whole video on learning to listen to your body that you can check out here or in the description. Another important point is that you need to eat in a healthy way that also satisfies you. Eating healthy is crucial for obvious reasons that I talk about all the time. However, eating in a way that satisfies you is absolutely necessary in order for you to actually maintain this healthy way of eating. So you need to make sure that you're eating plenty of whole grains, plenty of healthy protein, particularly plant protein, and legumes and fruit and vegetables, healthy fats. You also really need to be including foods that you love, even if they aren't the healthiest foods ever. You need to make sure that you're having dessert and that you're having pizza and that you're having burgers and that you're letting yourself enjoy these foods without judgment, and that you are having them in moderation alongside other foods, of course, but they do need to be included. It's also really good to pay attention to how foods make you feel on a physical level, also on an emotional level, and to eat the foods that will make you feel good. And this needs to come from a place of listening to your body and not listening to outside rules telling you don't eat this because it's bad for you and will make you feel like this. But if you figure out that something makes you feel not unwell, don't eat it as much. If you figure out that something makes you feel good, eat more of it. And you also really need to make sure that you are eating enough. This is super important if you're eating really healthy and if you're allowing treats but you are hungry. It's not going to be sustainable. A good rule of thumb is that a meal should keep you full and satisfied for about 4 hours. If you start getting hungry before, then maybe the meal wasn't filling enough. And if you don't start getting hungry, maybe it was a little bit too filling. An important part of a healthy relationship with food is that you need to be able to eat everything in moderation. So this means we're letting go of extremes. We're not banning any type of foods, and we're not overeating on one type of food all the time either. You can do this if you give yourself unconditional permission to eat anything. This will remove this forbidden fruit effect, where if you tell yourself, I can't have cookies, I can't have chips, I can't have ice cream, of course, you're gonna crave them. It's also helpful to get out of a scarcity mindset and remind yourself that you're not in the Last Supper situation. Food will be available tomorrow if you don't want it today or don't want to finish it today. Eating slowly, mindfully, and savoring every bite is also a huge aspect of being able to eat in moderation, because that will help you to fully enjoy your food and the whole experience around it, so that you're not overstuffing yourself and like overeating. And of course, a huge aspect of being able to eat in moderation is listening to your body, the previous point, so make sure that you do that. And I have an entire video on learning how to eat in moderation. You can check it out here or in the description. So now that you've reframed your relationship with food and that you've built awareness, trust, and balance, it's time to address emotional eating, guilt, and obsession. So first, here's how to deal with emotional eating. Emotional eating is a common way to cope with strong emotions like stress or sadness, boredom, anger, loneliness, and then turning to food in order to make yourself feel better. So in order to address it, you first need to make sure that you are eating enough and that you're eating healthy, balanced meals, because a lot of the times emotional hunger will be really strong and uncontrollable if it's added on top of physical hunger. If you are eating balanced meals, then chances are it's then going to be easier for you to regulate your emotions with other things than food. If you're not eating enough and your meals aren't balanced, then it's going to be nearly impossible. Number two, whenever you do start to eat emotionally, it's important to start to identify the trigger. Is it because you're lonely? Is it because you had a stressful day at work? Is it because something made you angry? Something made you sad? You need to kind of figure out what it is, and then you need to find alternatives to deal with the emotions that can cause you to eat emotionally. So I really recommend making a list, because sometimes we think about things in our head, but then when we're directly confronted with the situation, we just forget. So if you have a list of all the activities that help soothe you in different situations, all the things you like to do, then that will be easier. You can just refer to that whenever you have moments where you're trying to fight emotional eating. Activities can be as simple as listening to your favorite song and like dancing to it, or walking your dog, or it can be something a little more complicated like getting a massage or going to see a movie with a friend, things that you can reserve for certain situations, but just make your full list so that you have things that you can choose from depending on the situation. You can also do a mix of food and other things as you're starting to find alternatives. So for instance, instead of eating an entire bag of chips when you get home from work because you're bored, you can make yourself a little plate with some popcorn and some fruit and then go watch a movie with that. So you're kind of combining activities, and that's going to make you feel better, but the amount of food that you're using to cope is smaller, because you need to remember that food can be one way to cope. It's okay, but it just shouldn't be the only way or even the default way. And make sure to check out my video on dealing with emotional eating in the description. Now, another thing you need to work on addressing is food guilt, which is something that you are going to get if you label foods as good or bad, and then you start eating foods that you've labeled as bad. You're going to feel guilt and shame for that. So in order to let go of food guilt, you need to start challenging your food rules, and you need to start eating the foods that you've labeled as bad, and just realize that nothing bad happens when you eat them. You also really need to work on reframing this guilt as unnecessary and switching your mindset to understand that when you are eating foods that are more treat foods, it is something positive, because you are actually eating in a way that is balanced, where you are including all types of foods in your diet without feeling any type of negative emotions. Doing so is very important to prevent binges, which is something that you want to be doing, and it's the healthy way of eating. So again, really trying to get yourself in this mindset is going to be really helpful. And you really need to work on focusing on the bigger picture, which is that having one treat food, one cookie, some chips, one pizza, it's not going to change anything in terms of your health and your body, but it is going to change things in a positive way when it comes to your relationship with food and how you view food. Again, make sure you watch my full video on how to let go of food guilt right here or in the description. And learning to stop your food obsession or addiction is also super important. You need to understand that food obsession essentially comes from you restricting food. If you tell yourself that you're not supposed to be eating these foods, and if you feel like you're not getting enough of these foods, you're going to be in this scarcity mindset, which will then drive this obsession that you are constantly thinking about food, and you even feel that you are addicted to it. But it's just because it's not readily available and accessible to you. So in order to deal with that, you need to make sure that you are eating healthy, balanced meals that satisfy you. This is really the basis of everything. Again, check out my healthy eating video to help you with these meals. You also need to make sure that you are eating regularly, at least 3 meals a day, that you are eating snacks in between if you feel hungry, so that your body trusts you and know that food is coming regularly and it does not need to be obsessed with it because more is coming. You also really need to let go of any idea that food is bad or addictive and that you should completely cut out this food or else you're gonna eat way too much of it because you're addicted to it, because that's not true. You can't be addicted to a specific type of food. You can only start getting addictive like behaviors if you start to really restrict the food that you're eating. Again, you need to make sure that you're not labeling foods as bad or off limits and that they are included in your diet. And then when you do eat these foods or other types of foods, that you are eating them mindfully and letting yourself fully enjoy them. Because if you are including these foods in your diet, but you're telling yourself, this is bad, I shouldn't be eating this, it's not healthy, I'm gonna gain weight, then you're not really going to get that satisfaction from the foods that you're eating. So essentially, you're just eating these foods and not getting the benefits, and it's for nothing. You can also work on practicing mindfulness, meditations, things like that to help you learn to let go of obsessive food thoughts. And check out my videos on how to stop food obsession or food addiction in the description. So now that you have reframed your relationship with food, built awareness, trust, and balance, addressed emotional eating, guilt, and food obsession, it's time to conquer fear and regain control. If you have fear and control issues around food, it's likely because of the restrictive patterns that you have put in place, and all of the different steps we talked about will really help you get out of them. And now here are the final steps. So let's learn how to face your fear foods. Fear foods are food that you avoid because you fear that they are going to be bad for you and unhealthy, or that they're going to make you gain weight, or that they are going to make you lose control around food entirely. So in order to get over this fear, I want you to make a list of all your fear foods. You can rank them if you want, from the ones that are the less triggering for you to the ones that are your biggest fear foods. And then you need to start with one small fear food of yours and have a small portion of that and integrate it alongside foods that are safe for you. So let's say that your fear food are cookies. You can have one cookie that you have alongside your balanced meal with a dessert of fruit, and you also have the cookie as the dessert as well. So when you eat this food, you're going to be in a calm, safe environment where you know that all the other foods are foods that you have labeled as safe, and there's just this one food. Notice how it's going to make you feel. It's not going to hurt you. It's not going to make you gain 10 pounds. It's going to be fine. And then it's really important that you kind of start to create this positive feedback loop where you can eat these foods. Everything can feel fine. Your body feels fine. You're happy about eating this food. You enjoy this food. And so then you can eat more of it. You can start eating fear foods that are a little bit higher on your list and keep on doing that alongside the safe foods until you have used up all your fear foods and they are no longer fear foods. It's really about putting these foods on the same level as other foods so that no food is better or worse than the other. They just have different nutrients and different benefits that they are going to bring to you. And yes, a cookie has benefits which include making you feel satisfied, happy, comforted, bring back memories, share social connection. So these are things that have value too. And you can check out my video on how to let go of your fear foods right here in the description. And if you've gotten all the way to the end of these steps, it is now time to fully make peace with food, which is the final step of a healthy relationship with food. So making peace with food involves eating all types of food and understanding that this doesn't mean just eating cookies every single day for the rest of your life, that you can have the balanced meals with foods that make you feel good, and you can also have the foods that are going to be more treat foods, more indulgent foods that are going to satisfy certain types of cravings, and that all of these foods are neutral. There are no good or bad foods. They're all going to bring different types of benefits, and you can have all of them. Making peace with food is about practicing this unconditional permission to eat, not having this underlying fear always that if you eat something, then something's bad is going to happen, and making sure that when you eat these foods, you do so in a way that is fully intentional and where you're fully satisfied and fully enjoying the foods, and you're not constantly telling yourself that it's not good to be eating. And it's really about trusting your body, trusting that your body knows what it wants. Your body knows when it's hungry, when it's full, and it's going to naturally balance out your cravings and balance out what it tells you that you want to eat or not, because your body is able to do that if you only let it. And then don't hesitate to seek professional support when it comes to bettering your relationship with food. I do offer one-on-one consultations if you're interested. The link is in the description, or you can talk to your doctor, you can talk to your dietitian, nutritionist, whatever. Just don't hesitate to get help if you feel like this is a bit overwhelming. Remember that building a healthy relationship with food is not something that's going to happen instantly, and you need to have patience, you need to have grace for yourself, and you are not going to be able to do everything all at once, and that's okay. You need to let your body like take its time and let yourself take the time you need in order to implement everything. That's it for this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like it, subscribe, and see you on my next one. Bye.